You are listening to the Next Gen Jets show. Now, here are your hosts Connor Long, Chris Grasso, Jack Cotter, and Josh Woolever.
Yes, you are, in fact, listening to the Next Gen Jets show, streaming live right here on YouTube and Twitter. What is going on, New York Jet fans? Welcome back into the show. An interesting week for the New York Jets. Obviously, no game for the team this coming Sunday, tomorrow, given that it is a bye week. But that didn't stop the Jets from making headlines. They, of course, shop Michael Carter II, a longtime Jet, deal him to the Philadelphia Eagles, a late-round pick swap, and boom, wide receiver John Mechie is the newest addition to the Jets roster. So an interesting move for the Jets. We're going to go more in depth on that. I did a short video on it earlier in the week, but here, really break it down for everyone right here on the live stream. The NFL trade deadline is just 2 days away. We got some telling reports in these past couple days from Diana Rossini and Albert Breer regarding where the Jets stand at the deadline and whether some of the star players will be staying in Florham Park or departing ahead of November 3rd's trade deadline. Plus, it's your last opportunity to get into our membership raffle. We're going to draw the winner on either tomorrow's show or Monday's show. The next show that we do, we'll draw the winner. TBD if we're doing a show tomorrow. If we do, it will be in the evening time. If not, Monday, we will certainly have a show. So whenever our next show is, tomorrow or Monday, our membership raffle will occur. So this is your last chance to get in, an opportunity to win a Joe Klecko signed jersey, a Wayne Corbett signed helmet, a Coles Corbett Moss signed photo, a Don Maynard signed photo, and an Altoon signed photo. Folks, again, every $2 super chat or gifted membership will get you a raffle entry. Questions, comments, thoughts, load all of those up in the chat. We will get to those. Call into the show with the link pinned at the top of the chat or in the video description down below. Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. I mean, it's in some ways I'm kind of thankful that we don't have to watch the Jets this week. Save a Sunday from, lots of sorrow and anger. But overall, I'm doing really good. What about you?
The Jets will continue their no-loss streak now for a second week in a row. Last week's game was super fun. I enjoyed it. I had no expectations heading into the game. Of course, I predicted the Jets to lose, like most Jet fans, I'm sure, did. So last week was fun. This week, the bye week, will be intriguing. We'll be able to watch the other NFL teams, see what they're able to put on full display. So I'm looking forward to just sitting back and watching Red Zone tomorrow. But I want to start with the trade that Darren Muji facilitated earlier this week, sending Michael Carter II, slot cornerback, of course, to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for wide receiver John Mechie. And then, of course, there were some late-round pick swaps involved in that deal. The Jets bring in a 2027 sixth round pick and then send out their 2027 seventh round pick. Thoughts there?
I'm actually not mad about this move at all. It's a win-win scenario. Michael Carter wasn't having a great season this season. John Mechie, of course, he's not the perfect receiver, but at least we add to this low-skilled receiver core to this team. And we've seen what John Mechie can do, especially with the Texans. We've seen what he can do with them. He definitely has some upside to him. If this was 2023, however, I'd say this was a terrible move just because Michael Carter was absolutely electric that season playing cornerback for the Jets there. But overall, if we're talking just overall value of the trade, I think it's a fair trade. And I'm actually pretty much a fan of it.
I think Darren Muji fleeced Howie Roseman here. I think the Jets bring in a high upside, a high ceiling receiver who has some deep threat ability in John Mechie. And Michael Carter II was on the second year of a $3-year, $70 million deal. But after this year, he had no guaranteed money left on the contract. I think Jarvis Brownlee deserved to be this team's starting slot cornerback after what we saw put on display these past couple of weeks. So I think this is a smart move for Muji. They get some big playability, some deep threat ability in John Mechie, a shot in the dark there. And then they part ways with MC2, who has struggled mightily this year and really ranked among the worst slot cornerbacks in all of football. Now, with the trade deadline less than 48 hours away, I want to pivot to some of the star players whose names we've heard come up in trade talks and potential guys who could be shipped out of town. One of those players, Jermaine Johnson. And according to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, the Philadelphia Eagles have called the Jets and inquired about Johnson's availability. And the Jets said they're asking for a second-round pick to move off of Johnson, and that's what they will need in return to consider dealing the Florida State products, of course, ahead of November 4th's trade deadline. That being, I think I said November 3rd earlier, November 4th being the trade deadline, of course, for the NFL, just 3 days away. Jack, thoughts there, Jermaine Johnson, and what his value could look like at the deadline, whether he's gone or not?
Me personally, I don't think the Jets will trade him, and no matter how many teams call the Jets and ask for him in exchange for some picks for the Jets. But and the reason being is just because I think the Jets defensive line has basically no depth right now. And if you're going to trade Jermaine away, you're trading away one of the best guys on your entire defense right now. And a guy who you can definitely build a team around in the future, or defense, excuse me, around in the future. And what if you get a second round pick? That guy may not be Jermaine Johnson. That guy coming in. And again, we're only in week 9 here, Connor. We're only halfway done with the season. Who knows what other problems can arise in the second half of the season that we need to waste that draft pick on to get another position and maybe not a defense. Many negatives that come with trading Jermaine, and I think that's just my opinion, and I think that's how the Jets should be thinking about this trade as well if they are thinking about it. But overall, I don't think they're going to trade them.
There's a price for everything at the end of the day. I think if the Jets get a second-round pick for Jermaine, that could be a really interesting offer and really peculiar and too hard for the Jets to pass up on. I think anything less than that, you let it sit. Will McDonald, the other Jets edge rusher involved in trade talks. Albert Breer reported the Jets had no plans of moving on from McDonald. I just don't think that this team can afford to ship away a player like Jermaine Johnson, a player like Will McDonald, just given truly how depleted the edge room is.
Same reason for Will McDonald, like you said. This guy's too much of a focal point of your defense, especially your defensive line, which yet again has no talent. If you ship away either Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald, you will have Michael Clemens being the other defensive end on your squad, which is not something you want for the rest of the season. Again, like I said, we're only halfway through. You can't risk shipping your best guy, arguably a top 5 defensive player on this Jets team away. You just can't.
And speaking of Michael Clemens, Albert Breer reports that he's been made available in trade talks, and the Jets have made it known that he's available. I personally wouldn't trade Clemens away. I get that he's on the final year of his deal, but you're not going to get anything in return that's more than some late round picks, a late round pick swap, and pulling up an excerpt from my article earlier today, and his numbers don't stand out on paper, but he's improved steadily these last few games. Throughout the first 5 games this year, he totaled just 4 QB pressures. Since week 6, he's doubled that and has had 8 pressures over the past 3 weeks. So he has continued to improve as a pass rusher, but still he remains a liability as a tackler. He's one of the worst tacklers in all of football. And look, again, the numbers don't stand out in particular, but if you trade him, that leaves the Jets very, very, very thin at the edge rusher position. The 2 next guys behind Clemens would be Brady McGregor and Tyler Barron, who have contributed for just 7 pressures total this season. So I don't think moving on from a guy like Clemens would make much sense, no matter how much I know this fan base does not like him.
Although the stats say something about Clemens, I do think they're in a way false stats or fake stats just because of the fact that you look at the value of the past few teams' offensive lines. The Bengals have not invested in their offensive line for the entirety of Joe Burrow's career. That's why he's always injured every single season. So in my opinion, I think the Bengals O-line, obviously one of the worst in the league. Panthers O-line, not that great either. Ike Ekwonu was atrocious. I just think that
has actually been a lot better this year. I don't think that takes away from the fact that he has 8 pressures this year. Like, I don't care about the talent. As long as you're getting to the quarterback and making a difference, that's all that really matters. Like, sure.
Yeah, but you're playing against some
of the offensive lines, but like, who was he getting stopped by the first few weeks of the year? The Jets haven't played an offensive line that has been incredible, and they don't really have that on their schedule. They're not playing the Philadelphia Eagles. They're not playing these teams that are built to win in the trenches. Like, Michael Clemens has been good this year. It's okay to admit it. Like, I get it. We're gonna try to pivot and say it's on the offensive line, and because people want Clemens and they want Clemens to be gone and they want him off this roster. But he's improved steadily every single week, and that's all you can ask for someone who is working within a new defensive system.
In my opinion, I think he's a terrible player. I think
So you're okay with Brady McGregor
stats.
being your starting defensive end in a base
Not over
set?
Clemens. Not once did I say I want to trade Michael Clemens. I'm just saying it'd be nice to see him just not be on the team next year and get a good draft pick for a defensive lineman in the draft. But I do not want to trade him midseason, just like I said with Jermaine and Will, the horrible depth that the Jets have on the defensive line after Will and Jermaine. I just think that, with all of the pressures and all the stats that Michael Clemens has had this year, don't think that I think, yeah, the stats have been better since the past seasons, but they're not real stats if you think about it. The offensive lines, again, this season have been absolutely terrible that the Jets have played. Absolutely.
It's been an 8-game sample size, though. It doesn't matter. Think of the good offensive lines in the National Football League. There aren't really many of them. It's the Philadelphia Eagles and who else? Like, who do we consider a
Steelers.
I think the
Steelers
Jets
have
had
a pretty
3
solid
sacks against the Steelers. Like,
I think that that's week one. That's week one again. They're
doesn't
rusty.
matter.
They're
It's
rusty. They
still
haven't played since
performance.
they hadn't played since January. They didn't
not an
training camp. Training
that-
camp. They don't have any contact in training camp.
That
Connor.
can't
They're
completely
rusty.
negate that they had 3 sacks against an offensive line that you call one of the best in all of football.
Have they allowed 3 sacks since week one, or at least the first 3 weeks? I don't think so.
Have the Jets?
No, the Steelers.
The Steelers, I don't know. I don't watch this. I don't cover the Steelers.
I don't think
watch them every single week. But still, the Jets, that was a good game. The Jets scored over 30 points that game. They were in that game. They had a lead through the they had a lead in the fourth quarter, midway through the fourth quarter, until Xavier Gibson fumbled the football. Like, the Jets pass rush hasn't been good this year. They've come in spurts overall, but at the end of the day, there have been players who have stood out in moments. I think Will McDonald is a great pass rusher, but I think we overrate Will McDonald, the overall player. And I've been on this since last year. He remains one of the worst run defenders in all of football. He remains one of the worst tacklers in all of football. Look, I think he can be a high-end rotational pass rusher, and I'm not advocating to trade him. I think that's the last thing that this Jets team should consider. But at the end of the day, I think Will McDonald has been overrated by this fan base for 2 years now.
I mean, he's made some really good plays over the past couple years. You can't trade away a guy who, again, it's only his 3rd season in the NFL. Aaron Glenn, we don't really know what he's made of yet for the Jets. Obviously, we've seen a sneak peek. Doesn't mean that we've seen the full potential that Aaron Glenn can unleash on this Jets defense. So I think you at least have to wait it. And again, that's fair to say with Michael Clemens too. I will admit that that's fair with what I just said about Will. That's fair to say about Michael as well. But I just think Will is already a 10 times better player than Michael Clemens.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's the debate. Like, I don't think anyone is, weighing in here whether Will McDonald or Michael Clemens is a better football player. Clemens, there's no spot for him on the team beyond this year. Just like move on from him at the end of the season. He's on the older side too. He's 28 years old. He's turning 29. I think is it January? I know he's turning 29 soon. I'm gonna try to find it out. August. He's gonna turn 29 in August. So I was off there. So about this time next year, we're talking about 29-year-old Michael Clemens. He should not be a rotational player for the Jets. He should not be a rotational player at the NFL level. So Clemens, don't trade him now because you only have so much depth at the defensive end position, but you can make him expandable once the offseason hits, of course. Now, the final star player whose name we've heard circulating in trade rumors, running back Breece Hall. And Diana Rossini says that the Jets' asking price for Hall is a 3rd-round pick. Teams have called about Hall, and the Jets have said, we want a 3rd-round pick if we're going to part ways with Hall and if we're going to send Breece Hall out of our organization. We're going to part ways with him, of course, ahead of the November 4th trade deadline. Thoughts on that price tag set by the Jets?
I think that's fair, to be honest with you. Breece Hall has only really had one good game this year, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals game. I think that's a pretty fair price to ask for Breece Hall. But if we were talking about 2023 Hall, maybe you would ask for a 2nd-round pick. I would say maybe 2nd-round pick for Breece.
They wouldn't have traded
2023. But again, like you said, there's always a price for everything. I'm just saying, but like, if you're talking about 2023 Hall, you can give him a 2nd-round pick. I think that'd be a perfect value for him. But 3rd round, I think, again, that's fair for this year, just because of the sole fact that he hasn't really produced anything this year besides the 2-touchdown game and the I guess you can say 3-touchdown game, really, when he threw the pass to Mason Taylor. But other than that, he hasn't really contributed to the Jets offense that much. And in a surprising matter too, because everybody thought, including myself, that the Jets would run a run heavy offense this year, like more heavy than they've been this season. And everybody thought that Breece Hall would have his best season ever as a New York Jet, just because of that sole fact that it would be focused on him more than anything on that offense. But it's sad, honestly. For me, it's sad to see Breece Hall struggling with the Jets. I do think this Bengals game, to be honest with you, did give him at least a little spark of hope that he would remain in Florham Park. But it's still a huge possibility that he gets shipped out of New York. So I think a 3rd round pick is fair, but I don't want the Jets to trade him, in my opinion.
I will say this respectfully. I vehemently disagree with your take on Breece Hall. I think Breece has been one of the best running backs in all of football this year. He's averaging 5 yards a carry, which ranks 9th in the league among backs. He has 18 carries beyond 10 yards, which is the 4th most in the league, and his 45.1% breakaway rate leads all NFL running backs this year. He has gotten that step of elusiveness back. He has held on to the ball. Sure, he's had a few games with fumbles, but overall he's held on to the ball more. He's reduced drops as a pass catcher. The Jets have begun to integrate him into that facet of the offense as well. I think trading away Breece would be malpractice for this team. And yes, the offensive line has played a huge role in that, but we're seeing elusiveness that we haven't seen in years out of Hall, and we're seeing vision that we've never seen from Hall. So I think Hall's been one of the best running backs in all of football, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, fair point. I mean, his Steelers game, it was really good. I remember talking to you about it, actually, of how improved he looked with his vision and his and just his overall just running ability as well. And I think a lot of it has to do. I think all of it, to be honest with you, Connor, all of it starts with the offensive line. If you don't have a good O-line, you can't have a good running back. You can't have a good team in general. So I think, again, I think Breece had that game last week against the Bengals because of the offensive line. So you have to give credit to where it's due. But if Breece is as good as the stats say they are, if Breece is as good as you say he is, then I'm guessing you think a 3rd round pick is it too low for you, or is it good for you?
I just wouldn't trade him.
You wouldn't trade him at all.
I was down for trading him for a 3rd and 5th round pick this offseason. There's no point in trading him now.
Yeah.
Unless you get a 2nd round pick, there's no point in trading Breece.
Are you letting him walk though after the season?
I'm placing a franchise tag on him.
Okay, yeah, that's what I would
do. Or
do
paying him.
Mm-hmm. If he was to get signed, I'd probably sign him to like a 2-year deal, probably just a simple 2-year deal worth up to, I don't know, what's the running back market lately? Is it like?
Well, Kyron Williams got that crazy contract, I think 3-year, I think $36 million it was. I'm gonna try to check that real quick. $33 million with 23 guaranteed.
So that's around like 11 million per year.
Yeah, so I'd say 222 in that range.
Do the Jets have that kind of money? I'm sure they have some leftover money. I'm assuming,
$70 million in
$70 million,
this offseason, which I think is 11th or 12th among NFL teams heading into the offseason. Some of the dead cap charge is going to go away, but people are going to, I think it's a little deceiving in the way people are going to look at that and say, oh, the Jets have all this money. They can spend this big money this offseason. They have so many holes to fill.
Right, yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. They have so many holes to fill on this roster. They have so many areas that they need to address. So at the end of the day, again, $70 million seems like a pretty penny, but when you look at this team and the holes that they need to fill and the gaps that they need to replace on this roster, it really isn't all that much.
Yeah, like especially like the defensive line's a huge issue right now. I feel like linebacker doesn't have that much depth besides Kiko, Quincy, and Jamie. And I mean, what other guys do we really have on?
Jamie has been terrible this year. He was benched in the first quarter of last week's game, which says a lot for AG to bench a defensive captain.
Especially in the first quarter too. I mean, there's so the safety room I think has to be addressed a little bit. Cisco, I mean, he's been okay this season. Malachi Moore, I think he's going to be a stud. I think for the Jets, he's shown it lately as well. But I mean, Tony Adams, he hasn't really been a big spark this year for the Jets. DB corners, I think we're fine. How much how long is Jarvis Brownlee on the Jets for? I forget.
They have 2 more years of team control after this year.
Okay, yeah. So I think the DBs are good. At least the corners are good. Running back room. A running back room is actually kind of iffy for me because again, Breece Hall has a good chance to walk. Braylon Allen's on IR. Who knows what the Jets will do with him? Isaiah Davis again. Who knows what the Jets will do with him? Khalil Herbert. I think he's one and done in New York. Andrew Beck, I hope the Jets bring him back, but again, it's not really a fullback driven game anymore. And who knows what Tanner Angstren wants to do if he moves on from a run first quarterback like Justin Fields. So, I mean, there's so much up for grabs in next year's offseason. Receivers too. I mean, how could I forget the wide receiver problem? I mean, Garrett Wilson's literally our only good receiver on the team. And I get Tyler Johnson's made some plays this season. If anything, I consider Johnson our wide receiver too this year. So far, at least within the last 4 weeks, I would say 3 weeks. But I mean, if Tyler Johnson was on, let's say the Eagles or the what other teams have good receiver core, the Eagles, the Bills, even I think Buffalo, I think Tyler Johnson would be wide receiver 5, or he maybe even wouldn't make the team.
I'm not gonna bash Tyler Johnson though, because he's been very good this year in minimal opportunities. Like, you couldn't have asked him to do anything more than what he's done. He's played well when it comes to efficiency. And let's be real, Johnson has no business being a wide receiver 2 in this league. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and bash him, because I think in his role, what he truly is, he's lived up to that. This year, he's not a high-end receiver. Nobody expected him to be that, but he's been efficient and he's been able to catch passes when asked for it.
He's efficient, but again, like I said, I don't think he's top 3 receiver material on any other team, basically in the NFL. On most teams, at least. I'm not saying
that. Yeah.
I mean, maybe Carolina. Again, their receiver core is really nothing besides Tet. Let's see yeah, like, I mean, again, most NFL teams probably. I think in general, just the Jets have the worst offense in the entire league. Actually, no. Sorry, Titans. Sorry, I would say Titans are a worse offense. Las Vegas, you can make an argument for.
I think they're a lot worse. If you just play the paper game, like, sure, the Jets are 1-7. Their offense has had games where they've just been no shows. But at the end of the day, the Jets offense has been a lot better than the stats show. They have a cohesive offensive line. When Fields is at his best, this offense fires on all cylinders. They have an exciting run game, and when Garrett Wilson's in there, they're exciting to watch. When they're receiving as well. So I think the Jets offensive line, again, if you just look at it from a pure paper standpoint, you could have them in that bottom 3 offensive category there. But if you look at them as a whole and their cohesiveness when at their best, I don't think it's anywhere near the worst in the league. They're bottom 10, sure, not the worst in the league, though.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think the Titans, or do you think the Raiders would score only 6 points against the Carolina Panthers?
I don't know. We can't do the insert game because you don't know how a quarterback is going to play. You don't know how the offensive line is going to look. Like, you can't do the what ifs with the insert any offense. Like, that's.
But if they're not a top, in my opinion, I think they're a top 3 bottom off the league. I think top 3, one of the worst in Jets history, to be honest with you. There's
Josh Woolever, can we get your thoughts on this?
I don't know what we're talking about. I just got here, but what's
Jack is saying the Jets have one of the worst offenses, a bottom 3 offense in the league, and one of the worst offenses in Jets history.
I think that the quarterback play has been one of the worst in the league, but
which is the focal point of your offense?
What?
Which is the focal point of your offense?
Well, the quarterback. No, hold on. Let me finish. Between the great, I would consider them great at this point, offensive line. Between Garrett Wilson, yes, I understand you underutilize your receivers, but I think that this is not. This doesn't compare to the 2020 Jets offense. And Jack, you can tell us a lot about that.
Or Rich Kotite's offense, like anything.
Yeah, that 1996
like
offense.
Or some of the Saleh stagnant offenses that we saw in year 1 with him. It all starts up front. The Jets' trench game has been great. Like,
the trench game's it. That's it. That and Breece Hall, maybe like just that and Breece Hall. That's literally it.
Garrett Wilson, but that's their identity. Garrett Wilson is
Jack,
this a top 7 receiver in the league as well. Like, let's not fully diminish the Jets' offensive efforts. I'll name you the offenses I'd rather have than the Jets. The offenses I think the Jets are better than in the league. The Browns, the Saints, the Titans, the Dolphins, the Raiders. I mean, you can make a case for the Cardinals. You could say the Bengals without Joe Burrow. Like, you're talking in the 23-25 range. They're not great, but it's nowhere near bottom 3, worst in the NFL. Like, I don't think they're in that territory.
Jack, when was the last time the Jets had 5 competent starters on their offensive line with a Pro Bowl caliber guard out for the entire season?
I literally I just said the Jets offensive line is
that's why Steve Hyden, I think the Jets offensive line coach, deserves so much credit.
I completely agree. But hold on, Jack. Wasn't a huge problem Why'd they have to spend so many first-round draft picks? Because the offensive line was so bad for so many
Exactly.
years.
Great
Yeah,
point.
they sucked. I'm just saying that this year the offensive line is literally probably the only thing I could say that's great about the Jets offense.
But
Yeah,
that's
if you have
that's the
if you
biggest
have a
thing that-
great component of an offense, you're not bottom tier. You said yourself.
Everything else.
Exactly.
Okay, if we're bottom tier, why have we only scored 6 points against the Carolina Panthers? Why do we have a stretch throughout 8
Because
weeks or 7 weeks
Tyrod
where the
Taylor,
Jets?
because you have the
Let me finish,
31st and the
Josh.
32nd
I let
best
you finish.
quarterbacks in
I let you
football on
finish.
your team.
I let you finish. Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Why are the Jets? Why did the Jets have a 7-week drought of scoring in the first half with the offensive line? If you're reading that right, the Jets have one of the
Because
best
look
offensive lines.
at the
Let me
quarterback
finish.
play.
Let me finish, please. The Jets have one of the best offensive lines in the league. They have Breece Hall, who's averaging 5.4 yards per carry, right?
You called him one of the
have
worst
Garrett
running backs on it. You said he's having a terrible year earlier on in the show.
I said he was not having the best year, but listen to me. 5.4 average, right? 5.4 average, top 10 offensive line in the league. Why do we only score field goals in the first half? Maybe it's because A, Tanner Engstrand doesn't have the right offensive scheme. It all starts with the coaching as well. B, maybe it's because the Jets can't finish when they're supposed to. We've seen that on multiple different drives. The Jets couldn't finish on the Dolphins opening. They couldn't finish on the Steelers opening drive. They could not finish on the Bucks opening drive. They couldn't finish on anything. They couldn't finish on any single first drive this season. I don't at all. This team has been a second half team at best this year. Besides that, even the Bengals game, the Jets were showing maybe no life until the second half of that Cincinnati Bengals game. And I get it; it paid off in the end. But why does it have to take 7 weeks to score a touchdown in the first half of a game? Why?
Jack, you're discrediting a great offensive line unit because of bad quarterback play.
Exactly.
You have had the 32nd and the 31st best quarterback in the league on your team this season. The 30-30 you might be asking, it's Geno Smith. But it does not get much worse than a Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields rotation. Do not let last week fool you. The Jets have had by far the worst quarterback play in the league. And I'll give you that. A unit can't be good if their leader isn't good. So, Jack, I'll give you that. But the fact that you're taking away from, dare I say, the best offensive line in Jets history. I don't know who was on the damn O-line in the Don Maynard days and the Super Bowl Joe Namath days. I don't know who's on the O-line then. Definitely the best offensive line that I can remember that I've seen with my two eyes. And you're taking away from that because of incompetent quarterback.
I'm not going to say don't let last week fool you. I disagree with that. I think anyone who tries to say Justin Fields didn't play well is just a hater of Fields.
That's not the point I was trying to make.
I'm not saying that's the point you were trying to make. What I'm saying is I think Fields had an incredible game. I think he scored over 30 points in thrilling fashion. He was able to throw under pressure. He was able to get the ball out quicker, which was the biggest thing. Like, we never saw Fields hold on to the ball for too long. He was threading the needle. He was keeping the offense on schedule. Like, if that's the Justin Fields you're going to get for weeks to come, his team's in like good position to win some games and do to put Aaron Glenn in the position to do what Dan Campbell did his first year with the Lions, where he got off to a super rough start and then bounce back and finish the season on a high note, secure a spot for next year, end all the crazy one and done talks, and then boom, there you go. And Aaron Glenn is back for year 2, and fans are excited, and fans want to see what's next.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Jets have potential on this offense, but what I'm seeing this year, I think it's absolutely atrocious. But the amount of times that I've yelled at my TV, the amount of times I've found that I have found horrible play calling, horrible playmaking decisions by Justin Fields, horrible playmaking decisions by Tanner Engstrand, and sometimes in the game. I think that there's no
excuse for that. What do you want
Engstrand
to do? He doesn't have a quarterback. A good play calling can't work around incompetent quarterback play.
Besides,
they're running no RPOs. They're not really running a lot of direct QB runs. Again, they're using Justin Fields as a pocket passer here, and when they need to use him as a runner, how many times have a lot of Jet fans? How many times have a lot of NFL analysts said
you're just going to get pissed if they don't let him throw, though? That's what's going to happen.
There's going to be a lot of runs.
They're not going to let him throw, and then you're going to get mad that, where's Justin Fields, the quarterback?
When have RPOs worked, though, this year? That's my question. I think Engstrand.
They haven't ran them. They have not ran them.
Jack, besides the crack toss to Breece on 4th down and 1, can you name one bad play call from the Bengals game? Didn't think so.
I'm not talking about the Bengals game. I'm talking about just overall in the season. There was one
Okay,
play
well,
I remember there was
the
against
offensive
the
coordinator's
Buffalo
clearly fine.
Bills. There was one against the Buffalo Bills. It was
Look
like
at the
3rd and
Buffalo
15,
Bills.
and
I
they
mean,
did a
it-
draw
That
up
was
the
30
middle.
to 10 in
Yeah.
week 2.
No,
Yeah,
it was week
okay.
1.
The
Or
Buffalo
it was sorry,
Bills.
it was
You're-
quarter
okay,
1.
A perennial
quarter
Super
one.
Bowl
It
contender.
was
You
quarter
got
1
me,
with like
Jack.
5 minutes left. It was like
Yep.
quarter 1 with like
Okay,
4
the
or
Jets didn't
5
beat a
minutes left.
perennial Super Bowl contender. You got me. They suck.
That was a game that lost 30 to 10. That was a bad game all around. You can't judge
Yeah.
a play caller based on one game in week
The game was
They
over after the
suck.
first quarter.
The offense sucks bottom. They're at rock bottom right now. Okay,
They're the
bottom
worst
line,
offense in the
offense.
league.
They
Wait,
scored-
hold on. Are they the worst in the league?
They are
Jack?
at rock bottom.
How?
I'm telling
Okay,
you this.
explain
Do
to me how
not
they
let
are
the
at rock
Cincinnati
bottom
Bengals.
after they scored
Cincinnati
39
Bengals have one
Connor,
of the
has this
worst.
been the whole show so
Bengals.
far?
Cincinnati
Pretty much.
Bengals.
After
Cincinnati
we went
Bengals have one of the worst defenses
That doesn't
in
mean
the
you
entire
can't-
league.
You can't say they're
Obviously,
at
you're
rock,
gonna.
can I get a word? You can't say they're at rock bottom after they scored 39 points and got their first win of the year. You can't
Yeah,
say
but
that.
the
No matter
Bengals
how
defense is one
bad
of the worst in the league.
defense is. No, they beat the Steelers the week before. That's the team that you were
They're
talking
still
about.
one
It's
of the
such
worst
a
in the
great
league.
offensive line.
It's
The team they beat the
it's
week
any
before.
given Sunday, Connor.
So
It's
that's
any
your
given Sunday.
that's
Yes, that's my excuse.
you're
Because
saying
it is.
they're at rock-
That's
they
not an
scored-
excuse. That's a fact. That's a fact. It's any given Sunday, Connor. Anything can
The
happen.
Jets scored 39 points on offense. Doesn't matter. Any given Sunday. So
Yeah,
we're
but then you
yeah,
can
I think-
handpick
I
the
think
Bills
it's fine.
game where they got blown out, and that's your
Perfect.
your
You can't have it
instance.
both
So
ways.
it's a two-way street, Jack. You can't just say the Jets offense played great here and they played terrible here, but I'm only going to focus on
At
one.
the end of the day, you have to come in the middle. I think
Yeah,
this
you can
bottom-
eliminate both outliers, but you
This is-
can't just pick and choose.
There have been See, the Jets offense is hard to evaluate, especially after Sunday, because there have been outliers the positive way, and I think outliers, one could argue, in the negative ways, so to speak. There have been games where, again, the Jets scored over 30 points and lost. There have been games where the Jets scored under 10 points and lost, under 15 points and lost. At the end of the day, it comes down to complementary football. It's not the defense, not the offense, it's not special teams. It's playing together. That's what wins football games.
But they haven't. They started off 0-7. They didn't
Hence
score
the
They didn't start first half touchdown since week 1. They only have 2 games where they got above 30 points. It's awful.
Jack,
I mean,
do you
you
know how
scored
hard
6
Jack,
points
Jack,
against the
wait,
Carolina
hold on.
Panthers.
Can I
You scored
can I
6
clarify?
points against the Panthers. You
Since I got
can't
on the
finish against the
show- okay.
Broncos.
Since I got on the show, you haven't made a point clear. Besides, you think that the Jets are bad. Can I have a claim here to work against?
I've said multiple times that the Jets offense is one of the worst in the NFL.
One of the worst. Define one of the worst.
Yeah.
Like
Is that-
32nd or 25th?
Like
or...
like 29th or 30th.
Okay,
Like
so
the
who are the
Titans offense
offenses?
is
Okay.
awful.
So there's 2 offenses worse.
Titans,
That's what I was looking for. Thank
Raiders.
you.
Okay, Titans. I think the Raiders you can make an argument for. I think the Saints are
Saints.
absolutely terrible.
The Dolphins.
And I mean,
Honestly,
no, I think the Dolphins.
okay. This might be a hot take. If the Saints had a good offensive line and a healthy
No.
receiving core,
You're
and
just
Spencer
you're
Rattler
That's
was
Carolina
able
fan.
any-
to thrive.
any offense,
quarterback
Josh.
got benched.
Nope. Saints could be a 7-win team. Shoot me. I think the Saints are gonna. I think the Saints are gonna cream the Jets. I don't know about you guys.
I picked
They're
them.
not gonna
I
cream
picked them to beat the Jets earlier in my record prediction, and you guys came down my throat. I think the Saints are gonna beat the
Came
Jets.
down
Absolutely.
your throat.
You guys went crazy and crashed out on me because I was like, Jets are gonna.
And I
Jets-
crash out on you. I end up
Jets are-
winning less games than
As
you.
the Jets are gonna beat the Saints. I mean, Jets gonna lose to the Saints, and it was we're gonna lose to the Saints. How? I picked that as kind of a fluke because you have to incorporate flukes when you do these types of things. But I mean, there is a world like they won one game, sure, but like there's still no game where I can confidently point to on the Jets schedule. There are only a handful of games where I can point to on the Jets schedule and say, "Boom, that's a win." Like you really can't do that anymore. Like I was
Because
talking
they
about earlier.
suck. They
Nobody's saying they're good. They're 1-7. That's nobody is saying the Jets are a playoff caliber team. Nobody is arguing that the Jets are gonna win every single game down the rest of the season. Like I think there are offenses in the league that are far worse than the Jets. And I think anyone who's blaming Tanner Engstrand is just, trying to find a way to avoid the fact that this team has had terrible quarterback play. How can people blame Tanner Engstrand for not being able to score points when you look at the quarterback that he has put out pretty much every single Sunday? No matter how
Because,
good,
again-
no matter how good the play caller is, they can't escape good quarterback play. I mean, bad quarterback.
They're not using Justin Fields right. That's bingo. That's it. You have to run more RPOs, have to run more options, have to run more direct QB snaps. If we have that, I think the Jets can average 3 to 4 yards per play. And if you get that, that's a first down almost every single drive. And if you get that, it doesn't matter. Again, I've said this multiple times.
Jack,
Doesn't
can I
matter
explain
how
you something?
slow. Doesn't matter. Doesn't
Jets
matter
are
how
averaging-
slow or
No,
fast.
let him finish.
Doesn't matter how slow or fast the drive can be, as long as you score points, that's what matters. And if that's but instead they're going past, they're looking for Justin Fields is passing on a lot of the plays where he shouldn't be passing because again, he's not a passing quarterback.
Well,
has to run. He's only had a few good passing plays this year. Maybe like not even like the Garrett Wilson catch. I mean, there's not really a lot of others I can
what's
really
the
name. The
Garrett
rest of them
Wilson
have
catch?
against Pittsburgh. But I mean, there's not a lot of others that literally I can name off the top of my head.
I mean,
all of
the
it's been
pass
running.
on
That
fourth down and
Dolphins
2
run.
drops it in the bucket beautifully over the defense. We can start there.
That Dolphins run.
Second of all, Jack, you talked about how much you scream at your TV because you're upset at Justin Fields.
Yep.
And somehow this blame gets thrown on Tanner Engstrand. Jack,
Anyways, Justin Fields isn't a passing
every-
quarterback. Fields isn't a passing quarterback, so
I
he
let you
sucks
talk. You
at
want to
it.
play this game? I let you talk. Please let
Okay?
me answer
All
your
right,
question.
talk. Go ahead and talk.
Okay, I will.
We're gonna throw a super
Every-
chat in here, by the way. In the meantime,
Every time.
Lou says, "What massive wide receivers next season are free to trade / pay? How do you think we fix this? We need a monster." We're talking about receivers. So that's why I thought
Trade
I'd
for
pull
Lad
it up.
McConkey.
Had that starred for a little bit. Lad McConkey coming to the Jets.
For what, Jack?
That'd be
A
awesome.
first-round
That would
pick?
be awesome.
What do you want me to give up for?
I would love to have Lad on the team. I know he's not having a good season this year, but I think that what we saw in his rookie season, Lad McConkey would be amazing.
Why
for
are
the
we?
Jets.
Lad McConkey, I don't think has any spot with the Jets at the end of the day. When you talk about the receivers that are going to hit the open market and could be in Jets territory, there's nothing special. Like I think you hope that John Mechie comes in, overplays expectations, the remaining 8 games or whatever it is this season, and he's a restricted free agent. Then you bring him back, of course, for next year. Other than that, I'm looking at the guys right now. Mike Evans, he's not coming to the Jets. Christian Kirk, Debo Samuel, Jacoby Myers, Tutu Atwell, Javon Jennings, Raheed Shaheed. Like there aren't many names in there.
Christian Kirk would be okay.
Intriguing, and I appreciate the super chat, Luby. That will get you 2 more raffle entries for tomorrow's raffle. Of
Here's what I
course.
do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hell yeah. Thank you for that, Lou. Again, folks, every $2 super chat or gift and membership get you a raffle entry. Last chance to get into our raffle for tomorrow. All right. Interesting debate here on the show. We got 8 games left in the year. Excuse me, 9 games left in the year for the Jets. The bye week almost comes smack in the middle. They still got 9 games left in the season. So a lot to talk about with this team. Looking forward to breaking it down, of course, almost every single day right here on the show. Jack, I know you got to run, so we will let you do that. And when we come back, talking about expectations for the Jets post-bye week right here on the Next Gen Jets Show.
You are listening to the Next Gen Jets Show. Now, here are your hosts Connor Long, Chris Grasso, Jack Cotter, and Josh Woolever.
Yes, you are. Show, baby. Live right here on YouTube and Twitter. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Smash the like button, hit subscribe. That is the free way to support us and what we are doing right here on this channel. Questions, comments, thoughts, throw those in the chat. Call into the show with the link pinned at the top of the chat. Super chats, memberships, they get your raffle entries. We'll cut the line. Josh, the Jets are 1-7. They're coming off a win. And the first matchup out of the bye week, I think, is one that fans are already crossing off as a win. But I think fans have to go, whoa, not so fast. That being the Cleveland Browns coming to MetLife Stadium. We know how bad their offense is, but that defense, Myles Garrett, 5 sacks and a loss last week. I think when you talk about expectations coming out of the bye, I mentioned it earlier, Aaron Glenn needs to do what Dan Campbell did. He needs to win over this fan base. He needs to win games down the stretch and leave no doubt in anyone's mind that this team is going to be well suited for the future.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think a couple big things here coming out of the bye. Number one, you talk about putting up 30, whatever it was last week, against probably the worst defense in the league, and now you got to come out face an absolute game record, Myles Garrett. Time to truly see how good this offensive line is. And you're either going to get either rookie or you're going to get a second-year tackle going up against Myles Garrett. And that is going to be a tough one. So, maybe expect a little bit of, Anthony Beck, Tyler Ruckert, or Taylor helping out there on the edge because, man, they're going to need to work around Myles Garrett defensively. So that's certainly a big concern. I think Dylan Gabriel's still the Browns quarterback. I think he played definitely well in his first NFL game in London against the Vikings. So I think he presents a possibility to have a good game, but outside of Jerry Jeudy, he really doesn't have any weapons.
He's been one of the worst. He's been the worst quarterback in the NFL, hands down.
I mean, Quinshon Judkins and David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy should be able to put up a little bit of production, but again, we've seen improvement from this Jets defense. Brandon Stevens, best PFF rated corner since week 4. Sauce Gardner and the entire defense too, and even the guys that were playing all right have even stepped it up a little bit. The Brownlee trade, I don't know if you guys touched on this early in the show. That's been awesome so far, and one of the main reasons you're able to move off from MC2. So the Jets defense kind of gets a little bit of a break against a not great Browns offense, but that doesn't mean you let your foot off the pedal. This should be a pretty close game. But then I also have to touch on, I'll let you respond to everything I just said, but then I kind of want to touch on the AG situation.
Yeah, I entirely agree with what you said there. I think for the Browns game, it's going to be a hard-fought football game. This is a game, I think, where the scores, 10-7, where it's 17-10 in that range. Like, I think it's going to be a super low-scoring dogfight between two not great football teams. And I agree with what you said. Now fire away on your AG tick.
I want to stop comparing Aaron Glenn to Dan Campbell.
No, I agree. I wrote an article about this. Like, the 2021 Lions comps need to stop. Like, they're not.
It's all I hear. It's literally I will hear more about
teams. I use Dan Campbell as a comp in this situation. I haven't used the 2021 Lions as a comp all along. You know me. I've said it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm just using Dan Campbell as a comp because when you look at the recent NFL turnarounds, Campbell was in the same situation as Glenn heading into the bye week, except they started 0-8. And there were a lot of questions. Can he be one and done? The one and done talk was underway in Detroit real quickly. And then he came out of the bye week and they only finished with 3 or 4 wins that year. But the way they ended the year left no doubt on Lions fans' minds that Campbell was the guy.
Yeah, but it's just so annoying. It's like, okay, with hindsight 2020, you saw this great coaching experience that worked out, but were Jags fans like going like this when Urban Meyer took over in Jacksonville? I'm like, oh, well, we're 0-12 with the bye week, but who knows? We could, play gritty football down the stretch.
No, but Urban Meyer's a very different coach than Aaron Glenn.
All right, no, and that's not what I'm saying, but all I'm saying is you took a one-time example, and it worked. I'm not here to tell you Dan Campbell's a bad coach, but I just feel like you should stop comparing a rookie head coach to Dan Campbell, who we know is great now.
Campbell, I'm not comparing him to Dan Campbell right now. I'm comparing the situation to Dan Campbell's rookie year when they were in the same exact position.
Yeah, it's just all I hear about, though. That's why I'm kind of ticked off with it. I just want to hear about Jets football these days and not, I stack it up against the 2021 Lions and they're right on track. It's like, okay, I'm done with this. That was my main point.
They need to win games at the end of the day because, look, again, you're heading into the bye week on a high note, but Glenn can't afford to win 1 game. He can't afford to win 2 games. He needs to stack up these wins, and he needs to get these wins. Now,
and you have a stretch of winnable games too. It's not like it's not like you're Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and New England. But oh my gosh, the fact that New England already has another franchise quarterback is ridiculous. But at the Jake Asman watch party, I had the pleasure of seeing Chris, but this kid literally, I don't want to refer to Chris as this kid, but Chris Grasso literally just started naming games he is rooting for the Jets to lose in. And I told him how absurd he sounded.
Tanking doesn't work. It doesn't.
It doesn't work. And for me to sit down on my couch and be like, let's Jets lose, baby. Woo! Something good will happen in April.
Basketball.
It's insane. It is insane. Please root for the Jets to win if you're a Jet fan. You want your team to win every Sunday, and it just boosts morale. He went down a list of teams he wants the Jets to get swept by Miami and I really hope they lose to the Saints. They could be on the hunt for a quarterback and, definitely can't beat the Jaguars. And I'm like, oh, can we stop, please?
Tanking has never, in any sport, has never, ever, ever
No.
resulted in success or really finding a franchise quarterback. It comes down to development. If you have the right coaching staff, if you have the right offensive coordinator, if you have the right play callers, you should be able to make any first-round quarterback work if you do your draft evaluations correctly.
And
That's how it
honestly,
sounds. That's what it's like at the end of the day.
too, a lot of times it's not about getting that best pick, getting that best prospect on the board. Like, was Josh Allen the first quarterback in his class? Was Lamar Jackson the first quarterback in his
No.
class? No one, no. And those are the, MVPs.
Jalen
in the last
Hurts was
4
a
years.
second-round pick.
It's-
The guy won a Super Bowl MVP last year and has been to the
Exactly.
Super Bowl twice in 3 years.
Yeah, Jaden
But-
Daniels, not the first
And
quarterback
that's
off
another
this
thing. You
board.
mentioned Jaden Daniels there. I might have mentioned this last week. I want to reiterate it again for all the new listeners that we have coming in. People have this interpretation. It kind of ties into the Glenn discussions that rebuilds when you tear something down and bring in a whole new culture and this and that are grueling 5-year processes that take
Yeah.
forever and
Ridiculous on
they
this.
take so long. Like it really, really doesn't, guys.
No, but hear me out. It resonates so much differently with this fan base when we haven't seen good football in either of our lives. So yes, you're right. You can turn around in theory, but this fan base is out of patience and they just think it's going to take forever. That's the way I see it.
100%, but we have to keep it real here. We have to realize that Aaron Glenn doesn't have all day. I don't want Glenn to be fired after this year as of now. If I had to make a decision, I don't want Glenn fired. I think you need to give him one more year. Give him another chance at it. Give him another crack at it, and then if it's bad, you move on at the end of next season.
And now should they lose that Bengals game, would you be sitting here and saying bad second half means Glenn is gone?
I'd be saying, bad second half. I'd be saying, and he's gone.
And see, now that's a grave mistake in my eyes. A bad second half, and I still have Glenn on the hot seat.
Define a bad second half.
Like just as bad as the beginning.
Okay, so if they go 2-15, then yes, I want Glenn gone. When I think of a bad second half, is I think you win 3
and
or 4
uncompetitive
games.
is the bottom line.
Okay, uncompetitive, then yes. I don't know your definition of bad. That's why I had to ask.
Subjective.
What I viewed as a bad second half was you win 3 games and you finish 4-13.
Winning 3 games is a bad second half to you. I'd be fine with that. That's all right.
It depends who you get the wins against. Like week 18 against Buffalo doesn't count to me. Things like that. Like I don't. It all depends on the situation and the circumstances. Does he lose the locker room? Like
Patriots could even be resting their starters maybe 2 weeks ahead.
Yeah,
depending on how that shakes out.
Does he lose the locker room? There's so much that ties into it. All for me to say that the Commanders were picking number 2 overall in the NFL draft, and you blink and they're in the NFC Championship the very next season. Like these rebuilds, guys, are not like the old days where it takes 5-6 years. And I get it. There's been so much bad football played in New York and for the Jets organization. But rebuilds don't take 5 years. Glenn isn't going to have all day. He really, really isn't.
Now, let me ask you. Okay, no, continue.
And if you look at the smart teams when it comes to quarterbacks and them missing on quarterbacks, because the Jets can very well miss on a quarterback in this year's draft. It's a real possibility. Sorry, guys. Hate to say it. Hate to be the one to say it. But there's a very good chance that the Jets pick number 1 overall and the quarterback doesn't end up being good. There's also a very good chance that the Jets pick number 1 overall and they have their franchise quarterback. That's just what it's like picking a quarterback in the NFL draft as a whole. The good teams that miss on quarterbacks, the functional organizations that miss on quarterbacks, i.e., the Indianapolis Colts with Anthony Richardson. He looked sharp in year 1. He looked fresh in year 1. He gets hurt at week 8, out for the year with a thumb injury. Then year 2, quits on the team at a point midway through. They weren't terrible, but they weren't good. And they said, you know what? We're going to try something new. Instead of giving him another whole season after where he quit on the team and there were fireworks and it was a nightmare, we're saying, we're going to try something new. We're going to bring in a veteran. We're going to let Anthony Richardson sit behind him and look for
it was a quarterback competition. It wasn't even sit behind him.
It was a quarterback competition, but I think they were leaning more.
They were just saying that.
That was the thing that surprised me with the Jets. I'm surprised the Jets didn't advertise it as a quarterback competition between Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields. I think if you're going to call a center battle with Josh Myers and Joe Tippmann, there should have been a quarterback battle with
No,
Tyrod
but
Taylor.
let's be honest. The Jets would be making a fool out of themselves if they didn't start Justin Fields.
The Jets would be making a fool out of
them.
themselves if they started Josh Myers over Joe Tippmann, not knowing about
And
the
unfortunately, we got there.
not knowing about the
That
AVT.
got stopped in its tracks. Yeah.
It
Um,
doesn't matter because Josh Myers has been great. Like he's been
Yeah.
very,
No.
very
100%.
good. Josh Myers and Tip have both looked incredible this year.
I agree.
But yeah, it's just the league's in an interesting place. The Jets are in an interesting place, and the draft is everything for the organization. This pick,
Yeah.
this first round pick, which is going to be a quarterback, is going to be everything for the Jets. It really is. It's going to be the most important draft pick since Zach in 21 because they're going to take a quarterback.
Not even close.
I think you can argue more important than Zach. Just because like we all know it's going to be a high end quarterback. We all know that.
Yeah.
Who are they going to take? Where are they going to finish? It's the second year of a regime where, as now if the season were to end today, there would be a disappointing result to the season. I mean, where they finish will be intriguing. And speaking of draft picks, speaking of draft classes and rookies, the Jets 2025 draft class, the first for Aaron Muji, the first for Aaron Glenn. We've kind of got to see a good enough sample size out of them. This will be our last segment of the show, Josh. Let's go by and rank every single Jets draft pick. I'll kick it off. Armand Membu, to me, is going to get an A. I think Membu has looked incredible this year. I think he's stayed strong against very good edge rushers. I think he's kind of minimized the penalties week in and week out. I think he's improved every single week, and he hasn't been a liability. We haven't been worrying about him. And I think at the end of the day, you don't want your name to be called if you're an offensive lineman. You just don't want to. It's like a cornerback. You don't want to hear your name called on the broadcast unless you're getting interceptions. The offensive line, you just don't want your name called at all. And
unless you make a game-changing block to
exactly
open up a hole. Crazy stat I heard after the extremely unfortunate and God bless his soul passing of Nick Mangold. 11 holding calls in 11 seasons, Connor, and that's exactly what that reminds me of. So you're right. If you're not hearing about Armand Membu, he is doing his job extremely well. For me, probably in that vicinity, I'd give him an A-. The penalties were an issue at the beginning of the year, but he's a rookie, so you give him the pass there. I thought he has been tremendous. Everything I expected him to be in year one, and it's only up from here. A couple All-Pros later, and he will be a massive hit on the board. And you guys will be laughing at the thought of Tyler Warren, though. Not to say he hasn't been good; he's been great. But look, I'm not going to give him an A or an A+. That would be like coming in and being the best tackle in the league. But certainly, I am 100%. I'm feeling great about the Membu pick.
Absolutely. Now with the second Jets draft pick, their second round selection, Mason Taylor. I think he's had a lot better of a rookie year than most people are going to give him credit for. I think he's contributed as a blocker. He's played well in contested catch situations. And he's been a versatile piece for this offense. His route running abilities really stood out to me. He's creating separation. He's getting open. I don't know about an A. I'm not there. I'll give him a B.
Yeah, again, I think Mason Taylor's been good. He has fulfilled the duties that he's been asked to do, but he hasn't been asked to do all that much. So I can't, step it up. Maybe for what he's been asked, I'd give him an A, but in relationship to the offense, it's probably more like a B- because, while I can say it's not like he's done a ton of stuff inherently wrong. He just hasn't been asked to do all that much. So when the responsibility gets bigger and, I guess maybe that's a good thing. Maybe he's doing good in the run blocking game, which was a concern heading into the season. Maybe that continues to improve as he's continued to get trusted on. And again, nothing bad, but he just hasn't been all that important to the offense. So B-.
Fair assessment. The Jets' third round selection is Zaire Thomas. He's kind of been up and down. There have been moments where it's like, look at A.Z. Thomas making these plays. He's looking great on the boundary. Primarily his few reps in week 3. And there have been plays where it's, all right, watch A.Z. Thomas get burnt and let up a 44-yard touchdown. That said, he's at the C range for me, kind of right in the middle. We've seen the high moments. We've seen the low moments. I'm going with a C on A.Z. Thomas in limited reps the first 8 weeks of the season.
Yeah, AZ's a C+. He's been very fluctuant. I continue to say that, I don't think that was the right pick there with your 73rd overall selection. And I think that probably should have been an area that you wanted to target more. And now that you see him getting consistent playing time, I can't be all that mad. But the product he's put out on the field for a 3rd-round pick, basically, to categorize that is basically what you're talking about, the best scenario worth of value out of Breece Hall. So to categorize that and to say, that's sort of the equivalent of what you trade Breece Hall for, it's probably more like a C+ for me. He hasn't gotten all that much run, so this is one of those harder ones to rank in, especially as will be the next guy we're going to talk about. And honestly, everyone from here on out. But yeah, C+, again, hard to categorize.
Malachi Moore. Boy, oh boy, he's a puzzling case. Great summer, great training camp, great preseason, and very up and downs. Okay first start against the Buccaneers, some bad games, but then we've seen like some nice pass breakups, like we saw this week, getting across the field, making a big play. He's been very up and down. Ultimately, I think the lapses, the penalties, the bad plays have outweighed the positives. I'm going to go with a C- for Malachi Moore.
Yeah, B- for me. I mean, just the way that I think he filled in better than, certainly than what we saw to Andre Cisco. Yeah. And compared to the safety room, I think he's been all right. Look, there's been nothing to sit down and smile about a 1-7 team, and especially not in the safety room. But compared to the guys there, yeah, probably a B-.
All right. 2 more Jets draft picks left. The 2 Miami guys, Kiko Maui, Noah, up next.
You skipped Arian Smith.
I skipped Arian Smith. Thank you. I don't have a sheet in front of me. So
probably because you haven't heard him.
Thank you for letting me know.
Who is that?
Arian Smith. I'm going to go with a B- for him. He actually leads the league. I'm going to try to get the exact stat here, but in a very important stat when it comes to separation and the separation that he is creating between defenders. I'm going to try to get the exact, the name of the exact metric.
Get a nice comeback route on that
Yeah,
fourth quarter.
It's separation graded versus man coverage, and he pretty much is on his own island when it comes to wide receivers in that territory. So I'm going to go B- because you haven't seen him make plays much, but he's continued to create separation.
Yeah, see, it's not his fault that the quarterback sucks, but he doesn't get the ball, so it's hard for me to give a wide receiver a good grade when he's just not getting thrown to.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the 2 guys left, Kiko Maui Noah, will rapid fire through these final 2. Kiko Maui Noah made a handful of starts. He hasn't looked his best these past 2 weeks, but his first 3 starts of the year, he steadily improved. He looked like a guy who could be on this roster for years to come and potentially replace Quincy Williams as that rotational backer. Again, rapid fire through these final 2 Miami guys. For Kiko, I'm going to give him a B.
Yeah, B+ for me. When you talk about a middle of the pack day 3 pick, you can't really expect much, and I think he's just exceeded expectations there.
Well said. Tyler Barron, easy for me. Inactive the majority of the games this year. Went out there a full liability. I'm giving Tyler Barron an F, who the Jets traded up for.
Yeah, please fail me. I mean, if you ask majority of Jets fans, they probably never heard of the guy, and for a good reason. I mean, he has been, Halloween just came around. He was dressed up as a ghost all season, so he's been terrible. Yeah, fail him.
I think I don't know. I saw him in a costume on the Jets social page. I didn't see who he dressed up as, though.
Yeah, so he takes probably more pride in that than his football game. I don't know.
Dude, he should have dressed up as a ghost. That would have been hilarious.
You trade up for the guy. What a freaking joke. Yeah, he's failing the Connor and Josh School for Rookies.
He has summer school, if we're the principals of Jet School.
That's I feel like that's too generous. I think we just have to completely hold him back. Summer school, you can get up to the next grade by fall. Just hold him back. Put him back in the draft for this year.
Give him another year. Josh, great job out of you. I think one of our best shows that we've had together. Great insight. You were sharp. You were incredible. Very, very well done by you. Great performance. You got any final thoughts here before we wrap things up?
I think it makes sense. I'm coming off a solid 12 hours of debate. But, yep, appreciate it, Connor. Had a ton of fun. A little time with Jack, but he certainly had some aggressive takes. Appreciate the kind words. Always great seeing you. Always great seeing the chat. And my Raising Cane's DoorDash is about 7 minutes away, and I get to watch South Carolina lose. So that's where I'm at.
Booyah, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us right here on the Next Gen Jet Show. For Josh Woolever, I'm Connor Long saying have a great rest of your evening, everyone. And as always, JTS, baby. Jets.
Jets.
Peace out, folks.